Mikel Arteta has led Arsenal to finish second in the Premier League 3 years in a row, and now he's ready to do it again. Let's be real. Mikel Arteta has built a rock-solid football project, and this time Arsenal isn't just a team with potential, they're serious contenders to win the Premier League.
Do I think that Mikel Arteta is doing a great job? Tremendous job. Do I think he should get the sack? Hell no. Am I going to think that we're going to win the league this year? Yes.
But to make that happen, Mikel Arteta has been forced to join the big spenders game in the Prem.
You look in the history of the Premier League in the last 20 years, the ones that they have spent the most and what has happened, I think there is a big relation. So, depending.
They've already spent £187 million to bring in the key pieces they were missing.
Arsenal, I've seen the most profitable club in the Premier League history, and this window they'll be able to reap the benefits of that. £200 million to spend. So if they don't get a striker, what the hell is your club doing?
They've already brought in Victor Gyökeres, added Norgaard's magic, the solidity of Zubimendi and Mosquera, and signed Madueke to have a more consistent winger. But the big question is, will it be enough?
Saying now, hey, are we going to go over the line? I understand the question now when people are like, 5 years, second.
Mikel Arteta has delivered 3 straight second-place finishes in the Premier League, brought Arsenal back to the Champions League after 6 long years, won the FA Cup in his debut season, and led the Gunners to a Champions League semi-final, all while playing with a clear identity, solid football, and real style.
Rice for the doubles.
But now the challenge is even bigger.
This Premier League is going to be hard to win next season.
Yeah.
We see Liverpool, who just won the league. Look at the transfer window that they've had. They went for Wirtz and Frimpong, and they're going for Ekitike, and they got Kirkesh in. That's 300 million
City.
worth of spending, and it's a damn good team. Manchester City, as you mentioned, Tijani Reinders and Ryan Cherki and all these, Ryan Aït-Nouri on the left side, all these players they brought in. We know that Guardiola can get that side whipped up, so it's incredibly difficult.
They're going up against a Liverpool side that's spent over £300 million. And they're competing with Manchester City and Chelsea, the 2 clubs that treat spending like a sport. So here's the question every Arsenal fan is asking, is this finally Arsenal's year? Let's find out. Let's not sugarcoat it. Mikel Arteta has rebuilt Arsenal from the ground up.
We have to improve in many departments a lot. We have to respect the process. It's been really difficult. Stop, start. But yeah, we will get it right. I'm convinced of that, and we need a little bit of time.
What used to be a fragile, inconsistent squad is now one of the most intelligent, intense, and tactically sophisticated teams in Europe. Arteta has shaped a team that plays with identity, a team that can press high, defend deep, dominate possession, and kill you on the break. It's a hybrid system, modern and fluid, and it's made Arsenal look like a world-class machine. But here's the problem. They still haven't won anything that matters. Yes, there was that FA Cup at the beginning. Yes, there have been 2 second-place finishes in the Premier League and a Champions League semi-final run. But after 5 seasons and over €100 million spent per year since 2021, that's not what fans were promised. That's not what the board is paying for. Arsenal isn't a rebuilding project anymore. It's supposed to be a finished product. Even with all that progress, they still fell short.
So, but I'm not in the dressing room. Mikel has done tremendously well. But if we have to analyze what's been happening, we came short. That doesn't mean we're going to come short again.
Mikel Arteta's tactical evolution has been nothing short of impressive. He began with a back 5, focusing on compact defending and disciplined structure, perfect for stabilising a shaky squad.
I understand. At the very beginning, you arrive, you're in a situation at the beginning where it's not your team. You need at the very least 3 to 4 transfer windows to be able to change everything that you want to change. Get rid of the guys that are on a good contract, that don't want to leave, that maybe don't like the way you play or you don't like the way they play.
Then came the double pivot in midfield, giving Arsenal more control and verticality. And finally, he found his balance in a fluid mix of 4-4-2 and 4-3-3 systems that let him blend defensive solidity with creative freedom. Arsenal could now press high, absorb pressure, or play possession-based football depending on the opponent. It was modern, flexible, and elegant.
Now, the last 3 years, we've been in a situation, Arsenal, where we should at least bring a cup, whatever it is, or a final.
But Arteta knew tactics alone wouldn't win trophies, so he started building a core that combined elite signings with academy-bred talent. He didn't just want stars, he wanted identity. That's why players like Bukayo Saka, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Ethan Nwaneri, and Max Dowman are so important. These aren't just prospects, They're part of the blueprint. They embody the values of the club while bringing skill, energy, and versatility. Heading into 2025 to 2026, Arsenal's squad looks deep, talented, and well-drilled. Every player has a role. Every role has a purpose. But even with all of this, there's still one glaring hole in Arteta's masterpiece: a dominant centre-forward. At this point, it's clear that Mikel Arteta's system works. Arsenal plays some of the most fluid, intelligent football in Europe. The press is coordinated, the build-up is clean, the movement is sharp. They create chances, plenty of them. In fact, last season they averaged 4.9 shots on target and 14.4 toe shots per game last season. They consistently broke down defensive blocks and reached the final third with intent. But here's the issue: they don't finish what they start. On average, Arsenal generated 2.9 big chances per match, yet missed 1.8 of them. That's nearly 2 sitters wasted per game. They ended the Premier League season scoring just 1.8 goals per match, a number that doesn't reflect the volume or quality of opportunities created. In fact, Arsenal were the second team with the most draws in the 2024-25 Premier League season. They tied 14 games, just one less than Everton, who led the league with 15, and level with Crystal Palace, who also drew 14 times. That inefficiency has cost them dearly. Take the second leg of the Champions League semi-final against PSG. Arsenal created chances, 19 shots, 4 big chances, an XG of 2.91, but they only scored 1 goal. Meanwhile, PSG, with just 1.74 expected goals, converted twice and walked away with the final ticket. Why? Because Arsenal lacked that killer instinct inside the box. Against Everton, for instance, Kai Havertz, often used as a false nine, was completely detached from the box. When Saka was looking for a cross, there was literally no one making the run into the danger zone. Moments later, Saka found himself alone at the top of the box. Havertz finally in the area, but static, not pulling wide, not dragging a marker, not creating an option. The build-up had worked. The opportunity had formed, but the finish, it never came. And this pattern isn't rare. In that same PSG game, Arsenal's attacks were heavily right-sided, entirely dependent on Saka's brilliance. The centre of the box was empty. The left wing, where Martinelli and Trossard rotate, felt disconnected. There was no focal point, no chaos in the box, just passes, patterns, and missed opportunities. So yes, Arsenal works. This team isn't just well-drilled, it's surgically precise when it comes to breaking down opposition defences. Whether it's through long spells of possession or lightning-quick transitions, Arteta has trained his players to understand space, timing, and movement like few teams in Europe. Every pass has intent. Every off-ball run pulls defenders out of place. Arsenal knows how to create 1-versus-1 situations. They know where to hit you, and they do it again and again. But they don't always click in the final moment. Even so, Arsenal were the third highest scoring team in the Premier League last season. They netted 69 goals, only behind Manchester City, with 72 and Liverpool with a massive 86. So what's Arteta's plan for next season? Arsenal's attack in 2025 to 2026 might be the most versatile and explosive version we've seen in the Arteta era. And this time, the threat doesn't just come from the wings or the edge of the box. Now there's danger right down the middle, because at the heart of this new front line stands Victor Gyökeres, the most lethal striker in Europe last season, and the man who could finally fill the void Arsenal has carried for far too long.
Strap yourselves in. This is what you've been waiting for. I know, it's been a long time coming, but there's a reason why they gave him 14, because men lie, women lie, but numbers do not lie. 54 goals is nothing to sneeze at. He's done it in the European Champions League, we've already seen that. He's done it over in Portugal. He has a glimpse in terms of what English football is like.
Gyökeres may not have been the obvious fit. He's not your classic technical genius. He's not going to win every aerial duel despite his size. And yes, he built his reputation in a weaker league, but that didn't stop him from racking up an absurd 54 goals and 13 assists across all competitions. And more importantly, he fights for every inch.
Nani, you know Gyökeres, there's big talk about him coming to the Premier League now. What do you think he's capable of coming to the Premier League and doing really well?
If he was playing the same today as 1 year ago, I would say no, because in Premier League the defenders will eat him, because he just want to run with the ball, you know. Because in Premier League you have runners, but now he's playing with head, and he's really strong, real. I shocked with him. I felt like he's a rock.
Wow,
He's powerful. I swear.
There's a fire in the way he plays, raw, relentless, and absolutely obsessed with scoring.
A physical specimen is the only way to describe him. And when I stood next to him, I was like, no, he can't be that big. When he comes towards you, you start realizing, oh, this is 185 pounds of muscle. Right. This guy right here is going to deliver from day one. And I'm putting an open conversation out there right now. 20 goals before Christmas.
And now he's surrounded by world-class creators. Bukayo Saka, the technical jewel of the team, was already a nightmare for defenders last season, racking up 12 goals and 14 assists despite missing time with a thigh injury. Just look at his performance against Real Madrid in the Champions League quarterfinals or PSG in the semis. He was electric. And now that he's sharing the front line with a real dominant number 9, Saka will finally have space. He won't be the only threat anymore, and that changes everything.
He made some really good points. He said Martinelli's greatest asset is his pace, but he never uses it. He'll try and take a defender on by stopping, cutting back. So he said what happens now is opponents know that Martinelli won't go past his defender, so the ball will go to Saka. And all teams now know that Bukayo Saka is the main threat on the wing.
Then there's Noni Madueke.
The end product is not always as good as... You know, he's one of those guys that when he gets it, you sit up because you go, you know what he's going to do, you know he's going to go at somebody, but then he can also stand on it, run out of play with it. So I don't see the upgrade with Martinelli.
He may not have sent shockwaves through the fan base when he arrived, but Arteta has built a reputation for turning doubted signings into silent killers. Ben White, David Raya, Mikel Merino. Madueke, with 11 goals and 5 assists last season, has the tools to follow that same path. Sure, Noni Madueke's raw numbers don't scream world-class, but if you look closer, he might actually be one of the most important tactical weapons Mikel Arteta has for 2025 to 2026. Because while others grab headlines with goals and assists, Madueke is doing the dirty work that tears defences apart, and the numbers back it up. Last season, no Arsenal player had more progressive carries than Madueke, not Saka, not Martinelli, not even Ødegaard. He led the entire team with 154 progressive carries, ahead of Martinelli, who has 124 progressive carries, and Saka got 124. That means he's the guy constantly pushing the ball forward, creating the chaos before the final action even happens. And when it comes to pulling the trigger, Madueke took 80 shots, more than anyone else at Arsenal. Trossard followed with 72, and Saka with 66. He's not shy, he's not passive. He's constantly trying to make things happen in the final third. In fact, only 3 players in the entire league had more touches in the opposition box than him: Saka, Mohamed Salah, and Jeremy Doku. The issue? That final moment, the last pass, the decision to shoot, the composure in front of goal. That's where Madueke still needs polishing. What makes Madueke even more valuable is his positional flexibility. While he often plays on the right, he's perfectly capable of operating on the left wing, offering width and drawing fullbacks wide so others like Ødegaard, Havertz, or even Gyökeres can occupy central spaces more effectively. And the depth doesn't stop there. Martinelli brings pace and chaos, even if he's not the most consistent. 10 goals, 6 assists. Trossard, meanwhile, is one of the most quietly productive players in the squad. 10 goals and 10 assists. A dual threat who always delivers in tight matches. Then their midfield has quietly become one of the most complete and balanced in all of Europe.
They knew key areas in terms of which they needed to upgrade. They knew that they needed a centre midfielder. They knew they needed to add another centre midfielder in terms of for depth.
This is no longer a patchwork of talent trying to make sense of roles. It's a machine, and every gear fits. Start with Kai Havertz.
Lack of finishing, lack of connecting passes.
When he missed that open sitter, I was like, man, how am I going to defend this guy?
Arsenal really don't look as fluid as they did last season.
Kai Havertz can play in a box midfield. He can take over that Xhaka role. I just think it's going to take time. Do they have the ability to give him as much time as he needs?
At the highest level, you don't have that much time.
Believe it or not, he was Arsenal's top scorer in the Premier League last season with 9 goals and finished the year with 15 goals and 5 assists in all competitions. But he wasn't playing in his best position. Arteta often used him as a false 9, a role he can survive in but not thrive in. Now, with Gyökeres taking the heat up front, Havertz can finally play in his natural spot just behind the striker. No longer the focal point, he becomes a second-line assassin, arriving late in the box, attacking pockets of space, and combining with Ødegaard and Saka to rip defences apart. Speaking of Ødegaard, the Norwegian is still the metronome of this team.
Under Arteta, he's taken his game to a whole nother level because he's starting to score goals. An incredible mind, the way he sees the game, but also I think as a human being, holistically, makes sense to have him be at the heart of this project.
His vision, tempo control, and creative timing are elite, 6 goals and 12 assists last season barely scratched the surface of his influence. He knows when to pause, when to accelerate, and when to deliver the killer ball. He's the brain of this midfield. And then there's Declan Rice, a monster, a player who does everything with authority. He can break up play, launch attacks, surge forward with power, and lead with presence. Last season, he recorded 9 goals and 10 assists, all while acting as the team's defensive anchor. With Rice on the pitch, Arsenal isn't just better, they're harder. But the biggest shift in midfield comes with the arrival of Martin Zubimendi.
Very impressive. I think we are all very impressed with what we've seen in the last 7 to 10 days, because once you have the player daily there and you see his character, you see his personality, his intelligence, and how much he's going to bring to the team, very excited about it.
He's the missing puzzle piece, a deep-lying playmaker with press resistance, tactical vision, and composure. He allows Arsenal to build from the back under pressure and control games from minute 1 to 90. His inclusion finally gives Arteta the ability to shift between defensive solidity and attacking flow without needing to change personnel. And let's not overlook Christian Nørgaard.
Obviously Nørgaard coming in from Brentford, who I think is a good signing at that money. I think he's a really solid
the kind of player every winning squad needs. He's not flashy, he's not loud, but he's smart, disciplined, and ruthlessly consistent. He knows where to be, when to press, when to cover, and when to shut a game down. As a rotational option, as a closer, or as a tactical wildcard, Nørgaard is gold. Arsenal might have the best defensive line in world football. Let's not pretend otherwise. They conceded just 34 goals in 38 Premier League matches last season, the fewest of any team. Their defence is structured, disciplined, and physically dominant. And now with the signing of Christian Mosquera from Valencia, they've added even more depth to an already rock-solid backline. Mosquera is young, just 21, but he's already showing the signs of a player moulded for elite football. He reads the game well, times his tackles cleanly, and was one of the best in La Liga at stopping dribblers last season. He's not flashy, he doesn't surge forward or carry the ball into dangerous areas. He's not a ball-playing centre-back, at least not yet, and he's not particularly strong in the air, but he wins his duels, makes the right decisions and plays safe. That's a rare foundation at his age. And with time under Arteta, the rest can come, and the truth is he won't be asked to lead. William Saliba, Gabriel Magalhaes and Ben White already form one of the most fearsome defensive trios in the world. Saliba is elegance and timing. Gabriel is brute strength and grit. White is versatility, composure, and tactical intelligence. Then you add Jurrien Timber, who blends defensive control with attacking intent, and Riccardo Calafiori, a left-footed balance to Arsenal's right-heavy build-up. There's no question about it, David Raya was a wall last season. While the spotlight often shone on Arsenal's midfield and backline, Raya quietly became one of the most important pieces in Mikel Arteta's machine. He wasn't just solid, he was elite. Across 55 matches, Raya kept 19 clean sheets, commanding his box with calm authority. In the Champions League, he was nothing short of spectacular. In the group stage, he conceded just 2 goals in 7 matches and kept 6 clean sheets throughout the tournament. In the semi-final second leg against PSG, when the world was watching, he delivered a masterclass. With 4 critical saves and a goals prevented ratio of 1.56, he did everything humanly possible to keep Arsenal alive. The Parisians had to fight tooth and nail just to get the ball past him. He's cool under pressure, pinpoint in distribution, and when Arsenal is under siege, he becomes a wall of steel. With Raya in goal, the team plays with freedom and confidence.
What more do they have to do in the transfer market? I think they're done, unless someone comes in and throws around an incredible amount of money to go and buy one of their players, and then you think about replacing them. But I think they're done with their transfer business. They've done everything that they needed to do.
Arsenal isn't just building a squad to win now, they're creating a dynasty built on the talent of tomorrow. And that future isn't 3 or 4 years away, it's already wearing red and white. It's rare, almost unnatural, to see players so young not just training with a first-team Premier League squad, but competing against grown men and looking unfazed. But that's exactly what we're witnessing with Ethan Nwaneri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, Max Dowman, and Marley Salmon. These aren't just academy cameos, these are teenagers showing up in real matches, holding their own, and in some cases dictating the tempo. Nwaneri and Lewis-Skelly already made headlines last season, not just for their talent, but for how quickly they adapted to elite-level football. Just standing out for their age, they were standing out, period. and now Dauman and Salmon have burst into the scene. Players who aren't even following the normal development curve. Arsenal could have chosen older, more ready options from the academy, but these two are exceptional cases. Players who skipped the queue simply because their level demanded it. One of the most striking elements of their rise is the physical and mental maturity. These aren't kids hiding in the corner of the pitch. They're absorbing tackles, winning duels, tracking runners, and expressing themselves with the ball, all without looking a step behind. They're not passengers. They're participating, competing, and thriving. This is what Hale End was always meant to produce. Not just technically gifted players, but young professionals with the courage and confidence to play Arsenal football at any age. And now, under Arteta's guidance, they're getting not just minutes, but responsibility. Real roles, real impact. Mikel Arteta has done more than assemble a competitive squad. He's engineered a powerhouse with depth, identity, and future. Arsenal is no longer a team that depends solely on transfers. They've spent big, yes, but they've also nurtured a golden generation through Hale End, blending elite talent with homegrown brilliance. This is a club with a vision that goes beyond trophies. It's about sustainability, legacy, growth. Arsenal isn't just trying to win now, they're building a team that can compete, evolve, and dominate for years. A squad that reflects the club's values, driven by ambition but grounded in structure. From Saka to Ødegaard, from Rice to Zubimendi, from Gyökeres to Nwaneri, every piece now fits. They've filled the gaps, they've added the killer instinct. They've built a wall at the back, loaded the midfield with intelligence and fire, and unleashed an attack that can hurt anyone in Europe. The foundation is solid, the squad is complete, the mentality has changed. Now Arsenal doesn't just want to compete, they're ready to conquer.